Go. Welcome everyone to the Tuesday Night Smite podcast on a first day this time around because we had internet issues. Yeah, and we blame everything on those. So what happened is someone apparently mowed over an AT&T cable pylon. I've never said that word before. So yeah, that's what happened. That's our bad catchphrase for this episode as well. Yeah, I'm gonna be the Robbie Dog. Well, I am the Robbie Dog. And I'm here again with Sabo for today's episode. Today's episode is gonna be episode 15. We're gonna do a fall split preview because obviously the fall split is coming up now in 2 days instead of 4 as it would have been if we had recorded the show on Tuesday. But yeah, a lot of things have actually happened in the last 2 days, so it worked out for us, didn't it? Sabo?
Are you going to become Roby Dog? Are you blossoming into yourself now? Is that what we're getting at?
Maybe. I don't know what the next evolution of a Robbie Dog is, but there's something. Certainly.
Roby Hound?
Potentially.
Roby Wolf?
Yeah. So yeah, Sabo.
You're Fenrir. If you haven't been released yet, you're Fenrir.
Sabo, I've got another question for you. What do you call a day where you just want to be left alone?
What?
What did you say?
Silent? Is it silent?
No, it's called a D&D day.
Okay, I got it.
So yeah, back to the topic at hand, roster changes. What happened? Like, we're going through the order in which it happened, basically. So yeah, what happened, Sabo?
Well, the first thing that happened is ALG announced that they were coming back to Smite. The news was that they were closing down the organization, and I guess something happened where they didn't have to close, and now they're back into Smite, and if the team is the same, only the roster has kind of made some position changes. It's going to be Oceans in the mid, and Yankee is moving back to the Hunter role.
Oh yeah, that happened as well, right? Yeah, I think the entire story behind why they're coming back is that has something to do with their COD team. I think they had a lot more success at their World Championship or something than they expected to be the case, and due to that, they've now decided to start up operations again because apparently there's an interest there from quite a lot of people for the team to continue existing, right? I think it's also an org that I very much like. I think they have a good looking swag, right? So I like that they're sticking around.
Yeah, I do too. I like the ALG logo, the ALG skins and Smite. It's one of the better logos in all of professional esports, if you ask me. Just the big gold and yellow or gold and white star on the black background. It's a very cool, very unique logo, and just for the guys to have a team that is paying them to play Smite again, and paying them even more next season to play Smite again.
Yeah, assuming they make sixth place or higher.
Well, let's hope or higher. ALG, let's just hope. Maybe the organization, but not the team. Let's just hope.
Yeah, I think
it's definitely.
Go ahead.
It's a good thing for everybody involved with the organization and with their esports, like COD and Smite, and I don't know if they have a League of Legends team or not, but it's good just to have them back as an organization.
Yeah, they're not a terribly big org from what I know. Like, they haven't been around for a long time. But within Smite, they sound like they've done their right by their players, right? I haven't heard a lot of complaints from anyone really about how they run operations there.
Except for Incon, of course. That's weekend. Not the team, not the organization.
Yeah. Yeah, Incon's just getting screwed by everyone, so who cares? It's nothing special at this point, right? Well, he's not even
No,
really been,
nothing new.
yeah. Like honestly, he's not even been getting screwed by everyone. He's just it's just been getting screwed by Weekend several times. But yeah, I think it's overall obviously a good thing, right? More orcs within Smite, especially ones that aren't known to like sort of mistreat their players to a certain extent, are a good thing overall to have.
Paradigm.
Yeah,
Paradigm.
yeah. Paradigm's an entirely different situation. Like
We're
Paradigm's
not
just
the
a
name
weird
shit.
situation.
We can't say that name. We can't name organization. We can't name former organizations. Come on.
We can, totally can. Why couldn't we? Like Paradigm doesn't even exist anymore. What are you worrying about?
Wait. Paradigm doesn't exist anymore. I thought they still had a team in Counter Strike. Is the
I've never seen
organization
that team play. I've never heard of that team. I'm curious right now. Paradigm, do they still exist?
I think
I
Hi-Res
found-
kicked them out because they were treating or they weren't paying their players, and then it was that. I don't know if they downfall. I don't know if they folded under, but I thought they were still around.
Well, there's another Paradigm. Oh, but it doesn't look like it's the Smite one, which is kind of weird.
Oh well.
Yeah, there's actually two other Paradigm esports organizations on Twitter. The point being, right? They don't no longer exist, from what I know. So we have nothing to worry about. It's not like we're talking about denial or anything. You know. But yeah, that's the news. ALG, a good org, is back. Well, they never really left overall, right? Considering they've been around for both splits now, for summer and fall. There was nothing in between really where they would have been represented by their players. But they're sticking around, which is good. So yeah, the change they made is probably something worth talking about as well. Moving Oceans to mid and moving Met Yankee into the dual lane. Right, Met's been an ADC before in previous seasons. I think he played on Soar last year.
Yeah.
And Soar was obviously
then,
also a good team. So
He was one of the best hunters in North America last year before he swapped with Snoopy.
yeah. Well, he looked really good. I think his best card by far was probably the Hui, right? Which is no longer really at the top of the meta, which is more how it used to be. But yeah, he switched to mid, I think, going into the World Championship, just because Soar was feeling they had better chances with that type of roster going into Worlds. It didn't really work out. They didn't look really convincing at Worlds overall. And yeah, now he's moving back to ADC. He's been in mid ever since, I think. And yeah, what do you think?
Well, I don't think Matt Yankee moving to mids or moving to Hunter is the story here. It's got to be the Oceans to mid thing, because we haven't seen Ocean play that role yet. We have actually seen Matt Yankee play the Hunter. That's the biggest question mark for really Oceans is, what type of God pool is he going to play, and can really smooth his transition into that role.
Yeah, I think both are points to consider, right? Overall, it's going to be more dependent on Ocean, I think, how this team's going to look overall. Because Matt Yankee, as we said, is a solid ADC, and we expect him to be solid, I think. As far as Oceans is concerned, you said he has a lack of experience in mid, and we've already seen a lot of players switch from other roles to mid this season, right? Andy famously from jungle to mid, Baskin from solo to mid. So he's kind of joining them now, and yeah,
But
yeah.
But the difference I see there is there's a big shadow hanging over Oceans right now that wasn't there when Baskin and Andy made the switch. The big shadow being the best is still free agent. So if Oceans does bad in mid, the best replacing him is the option.
I would agree with you, but it seems like no one's really wanting to pick up the best anyway, so I have no idea what's going on, but something is going on apparently. But yeah, like if they're trying to hold off for now, give Oceans a chance to establish himself a mid, because team synergy wise, I think they feel like they have a good team together that works well, or at least worked well in the summer split composition that they had. So trying to switch things up before making roster changes is probably an admirable idea, right?
Yes, but keep in mind, this team's probably not going to finish in the top four and make it to Super Regionals right off the bat. Before Super Regionals, we got the Gauntlet, and we remember what happened to this ALG team last year. Weekend pretty much kicked three of the five members, or three of the other four members on the team, and brought in a whole new team. Oceans doesn't make have the split, the 5-week split, as well as the team is hoping. The best is out there. If the best is still out there, could be a not surprise pickup for the. That's the sound I make when my mind goes blank. The Gauntlet, yeah. So just keep an eye on that, is what I would say. Yes, the team synergy thing is important, but we all know Weekend and his reputation. If he thinks he can make a team that can make a run and win, he's going to, no matter who else is on the roster. Team captain, right?
Yeah.
I think the only person on the team that is safe from not being kicked is probably Cyclone Spin.
Yeah, but I think situations are a bit different now than they were back in Season 3, right? Because this roster overall, I think, should be a lot more solid than what we saw in the fall of Season 3. And I think there's going to be less good free agents available as well. And I'm not even sure if we're going to have the same rules as far as roster changes between the actual season and the Gauntlet are concerned, right? So it might be an entirely different situation.
Right. I'm just pointing out the fact that there is an option, and it did happen last year. So it would not be like a huge surprise for Oceans to be removed and the best to be brought in for the Gauntlet.
Yeah, but what I also think is the roster we had in the fall split of Season 3 on ALG, it had a lot more obvious weak points than the new one does, right? It was pretty obvious at the time that the two base players on the roster were Stealth and Weaken. Right now, I don't see it in a similar way. Right now, I think this roster overall is a lot more evenly matched. I think Cyclone Spin's the only one who's quite a lot above the other two, and obviously Weaken is unlikely to kick himself. So I guess that would be the two who would be left theoretically if he decided to kick three people again. But right now, I'm not sure if I see it happening, just because the three guys aren't lagging too far behind Weaken, in my opinion, and some of them probably aren't even lagging behind him at all. I think Niroma is probably the second best player on this team now, assuming Oceans doesn't really settle into mid really well, right?
Well, yes and no. It's still Weaken though, right? I mean, he's probably not the best player on his team, and Cyclone Spin and Yankee, if he's able to pick up the Hunter role as well as he was playing it last split or last ball. The two players right there, even if Oceans and Miramont doesn't step it up to play like a team that's worthy of going to the Worlds, it's still got to be in the back of your mind because he has done it before. And yes, last year's ALG team for the fall split was not a good team overall, but I'm just saying what happened once can happen again. So just
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
an eye on it. That's all I'm saying. Just keep an eye on it. Not guaranteed to happen, but it's weak, and I know his reputation.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see really how they perform, right? A lot of other NA teams have made roster changes as well, so the level that they're going to go into the fall split with and going to come out of the fall split with is still largely up for debate, or at least it's well, it's unclear overall. Just so right now we're gonna have to wait and see how each team performs, where they end up landing, and depending on that, I think Wiegand's gonna decide to make changes if he wants to, or the team around him is gonna decide to make changes if they want to, right? Because let's assume Met Yankee, Niruma, and Cyclone are the three best players on the team going into the gauntlet. Do they keep Weekend around? Do they look for a different jungler? Do they keep Oceans around in mid? Or there's a lot of different situations that could happen, right? With a team that is probably gonna settle more towards the bottom 5 or the bottom 4 of the NASPL. So we're gonna have to wait and see for the most part. Yeah. Over on the EU side, another roster change happened, or several roster changes as well. The first of which is that Nulissa, formerly mid laner from Elevate, formerly because she has been kicked from Elevate now. And it looks like all signs are really pointing into the direction that Death Panther is going to be the one replacing her, with Mr. Stefan standing in during week 1 because well, Death Panther is still roster locked due to relegations. It's a bit of a weird rule, but it's there, and yeah. So, what do we think of the kick first of all? Do we think that the kicking Nulissa was justified?
Well, we don't have a reason for why she was kicked. It was just that, like, if you watched the FPL, the FDOT's podcast this week, there were some people in chat saying that it was her issues with the duo lane that caused her to be kicked. If you watch Nulissa's streaming, however, you see her and Dardes actually playing on stream a lot together, duo queuing ranked and stuff. So if it's an issue with the duo lane, who else is there in the duo lane that could have the issue with her? Maybe somebody named Jermaine?
Yeah, could be.
And I don't know. They're just rumors. That's just like stuff that chat was saying during the FPL. But if this is true, you know, this is the second time she's been kicked, and really, if you're looking at the people who are replacing her, it's a downgrade.
Yeah, I would agree with that, right? We haven't seen much. I haven't seen anything impressive at all, I think, from Death Panther, and neither from Mr. Stefan really, right? He was in the SPL for a little while, Mr. Stefan, but the fact that I do not remember anything about him really is kind of already a bad sign to me.
I do like Mr. Stefan on this roster more than I do like Death Panther, but it's looking like it's going to be Death Panther as the permanent replacement. And again, I'm going back to FDot's podcast. He was comparing statistics between Nulissa and Death Panther, and it was clearly Nulissa had the upper hand.
Yeah, but
it was all of season 4. It wasn't just the part where Death Panther was a mid laner, but also in the support role. So we gotta clear that up. Like it's the statistics from what FDOT was looking at. It was the statistics for all of season 4. Death Panther was a support for the spring for a team that's no longer the Sanguine esports team. So that will kind of skew the numbers in Nulissa's favor to begin with. But just going by the eye test, Nulissa is a lot better than Death Panther, and I don't like this move. If she was kicked for personal reasons, issues with Jermaine, and I say Jermaine tentatively because, like I said, we don't know if this is the truth. It's just rumors. But if that's true, I understand kicking her for personal reasons. If you're kicking her because of her playing ability, though, Death Panther is a major downgrade.
Yeah. I think you can level a lot of criticism towards Nelissa's play, right? We've talked about it before how her best god just by far is Giannis, and the rest of her gods aren't looking great, right? The thing is, though, when I look at Death Panther, I don't even see a Giannis. I just see gods that aren't looking great. I see, like, I think Death Panther's best gods look like Nulissa's everything below Giannis, which is why I wouldn't understand the move if it were purely due to performance.
You hit it on the head. You hit the nail on the head. We know Nulissa at least has one god she can turn to if she's in trouble and they need a win.
Yeah.
Death Panther, we don't know if he has that kind of that god selection for himself. Well, maybe, but like really, there are 10 different better Raw players I can name just sitting here. Like, I don't know who Death Panther's best god is, and we at least knew if the team needed a win, Nulissa could pick Giannis, and they'd be safe. You know, they'd have a better chance to win than she wouldn't if she wasn't on Giannis.
Yeah, and I think that's the most relevant point, right? We saw Ulissa's Giannis is legit, probably one of the best mid performances overall in the SPL, right? This season at least. I think her Giannis is at that level. Her Giannis is good enough to challenge people like a Zeros on his respective best mid gods. Just her other picks are so far behind that it's an issue. But if you're forcing someone to ban a Giannis in the first pick and ban phase, or in the first banning phase, you've already got an advantage. I don't think they even have that advantage with Death Panther. I just think all of the picks that he's going to make are going to be at around the same level as the ones Nulissa would get without them having to ban the Giannis away. So I don't get, as I said, I don't get the move if it's performance based, if it's personality based, and there were clashes between Charmaine and Nulissa specifically. It's a lot more understandable. It's still a shit move, right? Because the team didn't look bad. The team looked like they were improving constantly. And I don't think, if there are personality issues, they didn't shine through in the summer. And I'm unsure whether they would have shown through in the fall. So even then, I don't really get the move.
Well, with Nulissa on the team is competing for that number 4 spot in Europe. They should be 4, 5, or 6 in that spot. Without Nulissa, though, they probably drop to 6th, 7th, or 8th.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to compete for that 6th spot now, whereas previously they were with the Poppies and with Burrito, whereas previously they were competing for, well, as you said, the 4th spot with Enix and Rival.
Valence and Rival. Not Enix anymore.
Yeah, and now I think the teams in EU are going to look a bit different anyway, right? Well, Rival's probably still not going to look terrific online, but we're not sure where Energies and Obey's respective levels going to be, right? So they might be competing for that spot as well, overall.
And with Nulissa, they would have been right in the thick of things. Without Nulissa, I think we're both in agreement in saying they don't have to be fighting for that 6th spot just to keep their spot in the SPL.
Yeah, and that's why I don't get the move, because I think, like, unless they have crazy good synergy with Death Panther, I just don't get it. And even then, they're putting themselves behind during week 1, because well, I don't expect much out of them during week 1 now. They're going to be facing, let me check, they're going to be facing Burrito.
They might win week 1.
If Burrito wins this game, then just
Burrito wins. that is a huge blow to Elevate because you're taking Burrito's mid laner away from them. And even without their mid laner, their normal mid laner and Death Panther this week, they just kicked your ass. So this is a must win for Elevate in my eyes.
Hey, maybe they just did it for this one match. It's the ultimate fake. They convinced Death Panther to leave because he could join them. So he won't play for them in week 1, so they get a free win over Burrito. Then Nulissa's gonna come back.
But again, if Burrito wins this,
Yeah.
just think of your Death Panther. Your old team just kicked your new team's ass.
Yeah, just go back. At that point, just go back to them. Ignore everything else. No, I'm just not sure where this move's coming from. Like, honestly. It makes so little sense to me. I don't get it.
It makes so little sense to everybody.
Yeah. Well, Reddit seemed to like it. Well, Reddit seems to hate Nulissa for some reason. So, I just don't get it.
Reddit seems to be on one end of the spectrum one week and on the other end of the spectrum the next week.
See, I think
Reddit... Don't know how much we can put into Reddit.
See, I think Reddit overall hates Nulissa because there's a lot of people who absolutely love Nulissa just because she's a woman. So it's the reverse effect, right? Everyone's being polarized and it's all going to shit. It's basically what's happening. Yeah. Well, the other side effect of the move that we've already hinted at is that now that Death Panther's gone from Burrito, because he's already left the team even though he's not going to play for Elevate in week 1, right? We're going to see, obviously, someone coming in to replace him, and in this case, it's going to be Farakirk. I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. What do you think about him?
If I had any information on him, I would say something, but this guy's completely new to me. I don't think I've ever seen him play before.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about him either, really. I don't think he's played on like an SPL team before, or any team that was at a really decent level, right? So I'm not sure what we're supposed to expect from him. Seems like he's just a player that's gonna be there now.
Burrito did say that he's just filling in for this week, that they don't know if it's going to be permanent or not, though. So I guess if he plays well this week, they bring him in permanently.
See, maybe. They don't really. Maybe Burrito is going to bring in the best.
Yeah, the best is going to move Europe.
Yeah, for the 8th seeded team in EU.
This is coming to NA, and Burrito, and the best is going over to Europe.
Yeah, but who's Nulissa going to replace in NA?
I don't know. Shake up.
See, you need to think you're trolling through. You need to think you're trolling through, Zabo. This is important.
I just got internet. I'm done thinking. I want to on the internet now.
Yeah.
The past 48 hours have been absolutely hell.
I understand. So yeah.
I'll bring that with.
I think that's all we have to say about Farakirk. So.
I do wish him good luck if he listens to this.
Yeah, he probably doesn't.
Can't be any.
Still, good luck.
He can't be any worse than Death Panther, so good luck.
Yeah.
So Death Panther is the new team that must not be named, right? We're just gonna make fun of him every week.
We could, yeah. We need a replacement now that Flashpoint's gone. But look, I'm still hoping that it's gonna be someone on the NA side, because NA has been a goldmine for memes this season so far.
Said the name. I blame you now. This week's your fault.
What? Flashpoint? Damn it! We're allowed to say their name, please.
Did you not hear me say it's the team that must not be named?
We're
And you
not.
went out.
No, it's the team that must not be talked about. We're not talking about them. We're just mentioning the name.
Europeans. All right, go. Let's go on.
Yeah, over on the NA side as well. Not just Flashpoint no longer, also Stealth no longer, because he's retiring to go work at Hi-Res. Are you surprised?
I kind of thought this might be coming. I didn't know if he was going to be working for Hi-Res directly, but professional gaming, it's kind of a what is my paycheck going to be this week, right? Like, you're not always guaranteed to have the same amount of money coming in every week. And the dude just had a baby. You know, he's looking for something more stable with more money coming into his family. So
Yeah.
I kind of thought that this might be coming. I just didn't think it or didn't know it was going to be Hi-Res. So yeah.
But I think it makes sense, right? If you're gonna work somewhere in a stable job now, going to a place where you already have a certain type of experience, obviously it's gonna be a different experience than what's really gonna be required in the job. He's gonna be a junior community manager, I think. Something like that.
I didn't read the whole thing. I just read his first two paragraphs. The tweet longer. He said, "Thank you to Smite, the community. Thank you to the teams he was on. I'm retiring to go work at Hi-Res." I don't know if he said that what he was going to do at Hi-Res or not.
Let me just skim through it real quick. Not sure. I can't find it right now. But yeah, I think he's going to fulfill sort of a community manager role, and it's probably the closest thing to playing actual Smite that you can get at Hi-Res, right? So I think it makes the most sense. And going to a place that you already know, right? He already knows a ton of people at Hi-Res, obviously, because he's been there a lot of times for different lands, for other stuff that's happened. So it's a good choice for him, I think. And obviously, a stable job, if you have a family to support, is important. And yeah, it's good that he found this. It's obviously a loss for the NASPL again. You're just kind of screwing yourselves over all the time.
Actually, Hi-Res is screwing us over. They took Stealth and then
Yeah.
God.
Chaos.
Yeah, they took two of our better mid laners in the past 2 months.
See, now it makes sense why everyone else is moving to mid.
Hi-Res keeps hiring all the good ones.
Yeah, just think about this. Maybe Andy and Baskin just want to be hired by Hi-Res. And maybe Oceans wants to be hired by Hi-Res.
Hi-Res, we only hire from the mid lane.
Yeah, they just need those cannons.
But
so yeah.
rumor has it he's being replaced by Mosball.
Yeah, is it a rumor or has it also been confirmed? Because I'm honestly not sure.
I'm not sure either. You're the one who brought it up. I'm not sure if you were saying right or what, because I know Stealth was going to let them announce who their roster was going to be, or who their new mid laner was going to be.
Yeah, it's been confirmed. It's been confirmed that it's going to be Moswell by a woman. So it seems like a reliable source.
At least it's not somebody the caliber of Death Panther, right? I mean, we know
Yeah.
Moswell is at least SPL level mid laner. And
Poor,
I like Marvel. I liked him on the SPL Gatekeepers.
poor Death Panther, man.
I, I'm trying to ignore what I just said, but if we're going on it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think Moswell has proven that he's good enough. Depending on where you want to be as a team, of course. Like Noble, they've already made a change, right? They've lost Aquarius and brought in Walrus.
Or,
Yeah, the third W. So it's already a bit questionable what they're going to be looking for, right? Maybe just to stay in the league going into season 5 by grabbing that sixth or fifth place or something like that, or maybe they're still looking further ahead. I'm not sure if they're doing the latter one, the latter option. That Moswell is really the best option available for the mid role.
I had, before Stealth announced his retirement, I had Noble as the fourth best team in North America. I don't
Really?
think Moswell drops him. I don't think Moswell drops him that far down, but he's still he's still not MLC still, so he's gonna drop him a little bit. I just don't know if they drop him down to that 6th or 7th spot.
Yeah, I think they could have fought for a top 4 spot, right? With Stealth potentially, depending on how well Walrus fits into the team. But Walrus has always been a sort of more plug and play style player, so he would have probably fit pretty well. Now without
What if,
Stealth, I think they're gonna have to fight for a top 6 spot.
I just hope it's not the end of Noble. I really liked this Noble team last split, and I thought they were going to be good if they could stay together. And obviously, they couldn't stay together, but
Yeah. See, that's another part of NA screwing themselves over, is teams just splitting up for weird reasons. So yeah, it's just a bit disappointing to see. I think Stealth was one of the most positive players. Oh, well, one of the best players in the team. Maybe not most positive. And seeing him go could hurt the team quite a lot. We'll have to see how Moswell does in mid and how Walrus does in solo. Yeah, it's just one point that is curious again. I think we talked about it last week already when someone else
what?
replaced their mid. Mighty Storm, I think. And oh, E
No, it
United.
was United.
Yeah, when E
United.
United
I
and
don't know that.
Mighty Storm announced their mids, I think. And it was the fact that the best was suspiciously missing from either roster. And he's missing again now from this Noble Esports roster. So yeah, why is that?
Divios is still out there too, but the best is kind of the head scratcher with all these open spots at mid laners, where you think he could have been a better fit than what they announced. Sheikah is standing in for Moswell this week on Noble because obviously Moswell is still same situation that Panther is in, still roster locked to his previous team. He won't play with Gatekeepers this week, however. Man Ray is their new mid for right now. We don't know if it's permanent or if it's just a temporary thing, but
Yeah.
that covers about all the fallout from this move of Stealth retiring. So, can Man
Yeah.
Ray fit with this Gatekeepers team, though? What do you think?
Well, I'm not sure if Man Ray fits with any SPL team. Just because, well, maybe now he is SPL level. No, he's still not SPL level, right? Because you still have to consider.
Well,
Still
he
have to
did have some
consider.
good games and relegations, right? So he's definitely improving. We just don't know if he's there at the SPL level yet. He's definitely getting better.
Yeah, still, like, I'm not sure if I would even now consider him to be at an SPL level, because again, the best is a fucking free agent. And if I look through the different names in mid and for NA mids, the only one that I see who could potentially be worse than Man Ray is Wolp on a Mighty Storm, and I don't even know if he's actually still on that roster.
He's on the roster for week 1. He's on the check-in list.
Okay, yeah. See, so we have one guy who is potentially worse than Man Ray, and we have another guy who is clearly better than Man Ray, who's still not on a team. So, is Man Ray even SPL level?
I think that's a question we get answered this week, because playing with God dang it, I forgot the name again.
Pain to be on.
Playing with Shadowku, yeah. Playing with Shadowku is one thing. Playing with Pain Davion is an entire different thing. Whether it makes that much of a difference for 1 week or not, you could say Man Ray's in a better position now than he was on his last team, with just who's around him.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. But is it gonna be enough? Like, and the question is, what has Payne's strength been? His biggest strength, has it been discovering new players that are good and that people don't know they're good, or has it been shaping new players into good players, right? And I think when we look at how his new teams have done, looking at Enemy in the fall of Season 2, for example, and looking at, again, Enemy in the spring of Season 3, I get the feeling that he's better at discovering good talent than he necessarily is at shaping them. And I'm not sure that we've seen that Man Ray is a good talent.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess. But I still like what I saw from him in relegations. I do think he has the potential. And if we know one thing about Pain Davion, he has a good eye for potential, right? Like, I'm not saying Man Ray is going to be the next MLC Stealth or the next best, but if Pain Davion is looking at him, at least for 1 week, you got to think it might be something there. Might be a chance for growth.
Yeah. Like, I'm curious to see how he does within this team. I'm curious to see how the team in general does, but we'll talk a bit more on that later. So yeah. I'm not sure what else there is to say, really.
I think we should probably get into the meat of the show. We'll just go on to our report preview for the split.
Yeah. So yeah, what is it you want to talk about first when we go into the split? About the week 1 specifically, or about the specific teams and where we will rate them to be coming in to the split at?
I think ranking them coming into the split might be a better idea than covering them schedule for week 1, at least to begin with.
Yeah. Well, let's do that then. And let's start on the NA side, the EU side, of course, because EU is always first, even when it comes to tournaments.
Yeah, live it up. You only get 5 more months.
Yeah. So yeah. Which EU team do you think is gonna be the worst this season at the split?
I think the first team that comes to mind is probably Burrito. I mean, they are losing their mid laner. They were probably the better or the best of the 4 teams coming out of the relegations, but that's still not, as compared to the rest of EU, that's still not something you can talk about. And with the loss of Death Panther, yes, we've been giving him a hard time day, but like you're still losing a member of your team, a long-time member of your team, and you don't know how it's going to affect you. So I'm dropping Burrito down to 8th right now. I don't know how you say it, but for right now, that's why I see Burrito.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. I think, as you said, they've never been the best team. They looked better in relegations than they did in the summer. I think most specifically they managed to beat Poppies in relegations, right? I think twice even, which is obviously a big step up from the summer split. But now losing Death Panther when they have looked like a decent unit, right? And I think part of why they've looked good as a team has been because of this synergy that they've built up, and losing Death Panther could hurt that a bit. As well as I think that Poppy's mid laner is going to settle in a bit more, Mr. Nazer. Like, he's obviously played his first sort of SPL level game in relegations. So with that in mind, I think the Poppies are going to be better than Burrito still when you consider those things. And with that, I would rate Burrito at 8th. I think as far as 7th is concerned for me, if I'm just going to continue, if that's right with you.
That's fine.
I think as far as 7th is concerned, it could be close between Elevate and the Poppies, right? Because as I said, I think Poppies is going to see some improvement, and I think they have seen some improvement already coming out of those relegations. And if that is the case, then this new Elevate roster going into the split specifically could look worse than them. So I think I'm going to place Elevate actually at number 7 right now.
See, I'm in the opposite frame of mind. I'm just looking at the 2 rosters as they stand right now. Even with Death Panther in the mid lane being a downgrade for Elevate, I'm looking just at no numbers versus Creed. I'm taking no numbers. Tardez and Jermaine versus Draco, Marino, and Morchi. I'm going with the Bruce brothers. Cherio and Drelo are close enough for me to kind of make that a wash, but I just like the Elevate roster better, even with somebody like Death Panther, than I do the Poppies rosters. I'm going to put the Poppies at 7 right now. And obviously that's going to make Elevate 6 for me.
See, I'm just not sure with Elevate right now if the individual skill that they obviously have, right? We both consider probably Dardas one of the better supports in EU, and Jermaine a hunter who's a level above someone like a Warchi. I'm just not sure right now if they are enough of a unit for it to make a difference against this Poppy's roster, who I expect to be more of one. Because I think Nulissa, to a certain extent, was what kept this team alive, right? We've talked about it before when we talked about them, how her Giannis gave the team a certain level of safety, and when they didn't get the Giannis, they looked a lot worse because of it. And I'm not sure if Death Panther is going to offer the same thing to them, and if it doesn't, I can see this team overextending too much, and I can see them giving up deaths due to overextending that much.
Yeah, I can see that too. I can see them very much falling into the same trap E United did in the summer, of them just everybody being just over aggressive and getting really caught out of position. I can see that from the Elevate team too. I'm just pointing out the fact that we know more about what to expect from them than we do the Poppies. I do think Draco Marino, not Draco Marino. But Draco Marino and Dalo are two really good players and have a shot at making pretty much any of the 5 of the other 7 teams that is in the SPL. I mean, I really think Draco Marino is probably a better support than somebody like Big Man Team or possibly even Collis. And I'm not. I say that tentatively because I do think Collis is really good as well. But I think Draco Marino is probably the shining star on this team, and Dralo's right there with him. But if you're asking me to put the Poppies over Elevate right now, with just a 4v2, like with 2 really good players in my opinion versus 4 players that are really good in my opinion, I'm just gonna put Elevate because I think they have the overall better talent level.
See, I'm just also not that high on Cherio and No Numbers right now. I think there's a difference between Cherio and between No Numbers and Creed specifically, but apart from that, I'm not entirely sure if it's gonna make enough of a difference still, with them potentially not being a real unit. So yeah, that's what I'm worried about for Elevate, and I think that's what's gonna happen. And if Poppies have somewhat improved, well, they could overtake them. As far as 5th place is concerned, we have to remember this is online. And so I think 5th place has to be between Rival and Valence, or even including between them and Energy and Obey as well. But right now, Valence has not made any changes. Valence has looked decent. They have looked like they have been on an uptrend the entire time, but we've never actually seen much of an uptrend, right? So I think it could be close between them and Rival, or between them and the other rosters, Energy and Obey, if they come in looking a lot weaker than most people would probably expect them to. But overall, I'm not certain they're better than any of those 3 rosters right now, online specifically. So I'm gonna put Valence there.
I'm gonna avoid the whole online versus LAN thing, and I'm just gonna go who I think is better. I do think Valence is the 5th best team in Europe right now, but they're very much a coin flip team. They can be really good one week and really bad the next, and it's exactly like a coin flip. You're either going to get heads or tails, and that's what I see with them. You're going to get really good or really bad. You're not going to get like really anything in between with them. So I would just through that inconsistency, I'm really going to put Valence squad on the 5th spot. And my 4th place team might surprise some people, but I'm going to go with Obey Alliance. And
yeah,
that's totally based on Zelia in the solo lane. We don't know if his playstyle. I mean, the games are getting longer. You're going to see a lot more of the warriors than you do the assassins or the healers or the other types of gods. And we know Zelia, or I keep saying his name wrong. Zelia has struggled at times playing the warriors, and I don't know if that's going to hurt the team as much as I think it's going to or not, but I still think Zelia is a good player. I just don't think he's going to do well this split with this.
Yeah. I think Zelia has always been a good player. He's never since it's always been a warrior domination in solo. I think he's never been an amazing player, a top solo player in EU, right? But the thing I'm unsure about, if we're going off of online and online level, another thing that could put the team that's probably in most direct contention with them, which is Energy, down a bit is the current jungle meta. Because what we've seen out of adapting, their jungler probably is still the best jungler in the world, honestly. is that his best class by far have been the assassin junglers, and they are suffering a lot right now. So I think it's a bit unclear whether he's gonna still be at the same level. And he was the biggest, by far the biggest carry on energy in the summer, and they were already struggling back then, right? And now with this new meta having established itself, where it's really been the warrior jungles, if he struggles personally, it could hurt energy a lot, and it could put them down a lot. Whereas Captain Twig, on the other hand, he has a ton of experience on the warrior jungles. He has a massive god pool as far as spread out over multiple roles is concerned, right? And due to that, I'm not sure if it really plays into the hands of energy. I still think, looking at the move that they've made in the summer, moving Demi to coach and bringing in Maniac from Obey, that they should be the better team than Obey. But that's more due to, as you said, due to Obey having to bring in Celia. And yeah, I just want to see what they do. I think during week 1, before these warrior nerfs have gone through, it might still be Obey that's the better team. After them, I think Energy should be the better team. So yeah, I'm going with Obey for fourth place right now, and Energy for third place, if that wasn't clear. Might have
I was
been a bit
about to
confusing.
ask. Yeah. I was about to ask. But yeah, I was about to. I'm in agreement there. I think Energy is the third best team. Maniac coming into this roster should be like head to head with Zelia. It should be a definite noticeable upgrade because he is better on the Warriors, and it usually, like you said, it is a Warrior meta right now. You also you pointed out the fact that adapting was really excels on these assassin classes, these assassin characters, where Captain Twig a little bit more flexible. I don't think it's going to be as bad as you might have been making it out to be. Adapting, we know that the meta is pushing later and later in the game, and we're not seeing 20, 25-minute games anymore. We're seeing 40, 45, 50-minute games now. Or at least that's what we're expecting based on how late relegations went. Assassins, there's not a whole lot of mid-game assassins, right? There's your really early game where you get the hyper carry late games like Kali and Ao Huang. And who does adapting really excel at? Ao Huang is probably one of his most known gods that he is good at. With Ao Huang being back in the meta, being strong, I think adapting is just, if it's not banned away from him and he gets it, Energy's probably the favorite in that match. Maybe 90% favorite to win. And so I'm just going to put Energy at third because I don't think the meta is going to hurt adapting as much as you're making it out to be.
Yeah, it's just something that I am a bit worried about, but that's really all it is, right? Who's your second place team?
Well, it's not going to be surprising to anybody because I think we both have the 1 and 2 the same. But number 2 for me is Rival, definitely coming in with no roster changes. How they finished at DreamHack, going to all 5 games in the final with Dignitas, my number 1 team. Surprise. But it's Rival has just established themselves as a really good team, and we have made this comparison about online versus LAN, and I am going to ignore that little comparison there and just say who I think is the better team. And Rival is probably the second best team in or EU right now, behind Dignitas.
Yeah, I think if they make it to LAN, they are the second best team. Because well, we've seen Dig beat them at the last time they met, right? And while it was a close match, Dig looked like the better team a bit overall. Rival has some more unique factors, I'd say, than Dig does, right? Dig tends to play more towards what is meta, whereas Rival has these more chunky picks, especially when you look at Deathwalker in the solo lane.
That was the new Eager.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, when you look at them,
Rival has their own meta. That's why I say they're the new Eager.
yeah, I'm not even sure if they have their own meta. They just have picks outside of the general meta, but they still play the general meta, right?
Deathwalker has his own meta, and then everybody else plays around that.
And see, Deathwalker can say, "Fuck the meta. I'm playing Kumbhakarna."
I'm playing Ares. That's what.
Yeah.
Like I said, Deathwalker has his own meta.
No, he's still playing the meta usually, but then he also plays Ares.
Nobody else is playing Ares. That's why he has his own meta.
Yeah, but it's not a meta. It's just a different pick, right? That Eager didn't play normal picks. Eager just played Eager stuff.
All right, let's get on. We'll argue about this for hours.
Yeah. Point is, if they make it to LAN, which is what I'm worried about, because from what we've seen from them online, and because the Gauntlet's going to be an online tournament this time around, if they make it to LAN, they are probably the second best team in EU. So yeah, that's really all there is to say, because the best team in EU, the one that's left, obviously Dignitas, they're the super team that worked, right? They have top players in their respective roles in pretty much every role there is, right? Kubo is probably second or third best jungler in EU right now. Variety is probably second best solo laner in EU right now. And you have that across the board, and it's just a hard roster to deal with. It's, as I said, it's a superstar roster. Their individual play can carry them, and they are looking like a great unit. There's little flaws that you can find within this team right now, so I'd say they're pretty clearly the best team in EU when you consider online. When you don't consider online and only look at LAN, they are fairly closely followed by Rival right now. But yeah.
There's nothing else to say. You pretty much nailed it. They're some of the best players in their respective roles, not only in EU, but all of the world. Variety is definitely top 4 in the world in solo laners. Kivo Fred's probably top 3 in the jungle role. We know Zyros is really good. We know Trixtank is really good. Arkle has been the question mark for two splits now, but he hasn't really hurt the team. He's only really gotten better, and coming off a win at DreamHack, being the number 1 team in the world following DreamHack, it's pretty easy to put Dignitas at number 1 right now, because they're the champions right now, right? They're not the world champions, but they're the league champions right now because they won the last split.
Yeah.
It's not hard to put at number 1.
Yeah, it's not the most bold move we could have made, but it's the most reasonable one. So, I congratulate you on being so reasonable, Seva. Yeah, I'm gonna write these down, by the way. I'm currently writing down these rankings that we've made so that we get to compare them at some point.
Well, the next section is going to be the one where we probably disagree on a lot of stuff. So
yeah, because the next region there is really to talk about is the North American one. A bit of a different region, obviously, compared to Europe. I'm gonna start, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Looking at these EU teams, I think the bottom one should be fairly clear, just because of everything we've seen from them so far, which hasn't been a lot. I think a Mighty Storm is going to be the bottom team for this split, or is at least the weakest one going into it. There's not a lot of great players on there that like the likes that you see on other teams, right? And they haven't shown me enough to really consider them in competition with the likes of the teams that will be a bit above them, like the Gatekeepers, like probably an Allegiance, like probably a Noble. So I don't think they're going to be that impressive display. I think they're going to be the worst NA team.
Yeah, there's not a surprise there. I think Uzi is the star of this team right now, and I'm not going to say the other players are bad because we just haven't seen a lot from them yet. I do want to hold off judgment on them on an individual level, individual level. I was making, but yeah, I agree. I think there's potential there for it to be a good team. Right now, it's just Uzi and four other players. What else can you say? I don't know. I don't know if this one split is going to be enough time for them really to grow into anything really special. So,
Yeah.
yes, Mighty Storm is the eighth place team right now. Moving on to seventh place team. This one's a little bit harder for me because of Noble's recent roster changes. I don't know where they're going to place, but I'm curious to see what Oceans does in mid before I put them down there as well. But it's between one of those two teams, Allegiance or Noble, and I'm just going to put Allegiance in seventh place right now because I don't know if Oceans is going to play all that well in the mid lane. And team was really good at the beginning of last split and then really bad at the end of the split. Matt Yankees, yes, he's played Hunter before, but he has to play Hunter in this meta, into the Season 4 fall meta, than when the last time he played Hunter in Season 3 fall meta. That's a whole year worth of changes he has to get used to. It's just, I don't know what this team is going to do, and so I'm putting which by default I would believe would make Noble my sixth place team.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that just in a moment. I think I can agree with putting Allegiance at seventh. Yeah, for the reasons as you said, right? Ocean's unproven in mid, and Matt Yankee probably has to get used to the ADC role a bit, and it's unclear what the real ceiling for this team is anyway, right? Because as you said, we saw them in the summer split without having a real second carry behind Cyclone Spin, and when Cyclone Spin was no longer able to have that massive impact that they had in the first couple of games, they were just not winning a whole lot anymore. And I do not see them turning these two newly role-swapped players into real carries behind Cyclone Spin right now. And I think that's still the team's core issue that they had in the summer for me is still going to be there. So I'm just not sure what we can expect from them. Yeah, unless Oceans turns out to be a great mid and Matt Yankee settles into the ADC role really quickly, I don't see how they're going to beat any of the other teams that I put ahead of them right now, unless these also look significantly worse than they did in the summer. But yeah, I agree with Allegiance 7th right now. As far as my 6th place is concerned, I'm honestly not sure who to give it to. I think Noble is looking a bit disappointing as well, but I'm also not sold yet not sold quite yet on gatekeepers, and I'm not sold yet on this new United roster as well. I think overall Noble is looking like a bit of the weakest one. I'm not sure how much we can expect out of Moswell. I don't think he's anywhere near the level of an MLC Stealth, and not having that consistent damage dealer in mid that Stealth was, he was known as the cannon for a reason, could hurt this team significantly. And with that in mind, it's going to be hard to beat some of the other teams. But on the other hand, Gatekeepers have Man Ray. I can't decide. I think Gatekeepers is a team that can improve a lot and improve quickly. So even if they look worse going into week 1 with Man Ray, they can still make changes afterwards, and most specifically, I think they're automatically going to be looking better towards the end of the split. So I'm putting Noble 6th. Who cares? It's NA anyway.
It looks like we agree. But I'm not going to put it on Moswell's shoulders. I think Moswell and Stealth was leaving the team, and Moswell's Moswell's a downgrade talent-wise, but it's not like the team had a whole lot of choices. I mean, yes, we talked about the best being out there, but you had to go quick. You had to find somebody quick, and Moswell's a younger player or a newer player like Wubbin, Wowie, and Morris and Skeledon are, so he probably fits better with the team and stuff. I'm looking at Skeledon. I know I've been high on Skeledon in the past. The question is for me now, can he sustain that success he had in the summer? Because before the summer, he really was a bad player. He wasn't anybody you could rely on from week to week. And in the summer, he transformed into somebody who very solid, but very you could rely on him to do his thing in the jungle. Can he keep that level of success? And if he does, that might show Walrus that, hey, this is a team that you can actually has an outside shot at making it to, super regionals. And that's going to cause Walrus to play better. And that which will cause Moswell to play better. And then Molly and Wubbin know what they're going to do. They're pretty good in their own ways. But it all right now comes down to whether Skeledon continues to get better or if he regresses to the old Skeledon that we were used to seeing for the summer. SPL Gatekeepers, I think you're right. They are a team that's that does have the potential to get better as the split goes along and they get more chances to play. I've talked about Man Ray already and how I thought he played really well in relegations. Whether this is permanent or not, I don't know. It could be a good fit. It could be a bad fit. We're going to have to wait and see. But just a team with Payne Divion and Data, remember, with what I think could be the next best jungler in the world, Grave, and a guy like Mando Warrior. I think I like this team right now better than I do the current Noble roster, just because we don't know what Skeledon is going to do. Skeledon has to continue to get better. If he doesn't, Noble's in trouble. If he does, Noble's top 4 in NA.
That's a bold prediction. So yeah, your number 5 is Gatekeepers. Yeah, that makes sense. I think they would be my number 5 as well. Like as I said, I think it's between them, likely and E United. And right now, if I look at the raw skill that E United has with the guys like Benji, with the guys like Vericio, or is he gonna be named Scream again this split?
Yeah, he's gonna be named Scream again, as far as I know. He might change it still.
I hate that.
I like the name, I just don't like the 5 other N's he has, M's like he has on the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just the raw skill on this roster, right? With just the 4 players that used to be on this roster as well, last split, are individually playing at a level that I think right now is still quite a level above the gatekeepers. So I would still put gatekeepers at 5th and United at 4th. Of course, we're gonna have to see how Venenu does in mid for United. Filling Chaos's shoes is still gonna be a hard task as well, in its own right. But outside of that, we've seen this team improve. We've seen them just barely not make LAN in the summer. So we've already seen that at least the 4 players that are still there have a lot of potential, have a lot of synergy, have looked great in the later half of the split. And with that in mind, I can't justify putting gatekeepers above them right now. So I'm gonna put United at 4th for the moment, and gatekeepers at 5th.
We have our first disagreement of NA, and I'm putting E United higher than 4th. I'm gonna put Luminosity in 4th, and for much of the same reasons you see about E United. 4 of the players, or the 4 players that were there last split, are all really talented, but that near collapse at the end of the summer split for Luminosity is still fresh in my mind. I mean, they went from first to almost missing DreamHack in less than 2 weeks. That collapse was almost epic. And so, how does the team recover from that? I think Jeff and Barra recovered fairly well. Question mark is still Skin and Mask and whether they're going to be able to put that behind them or not. I'm still high on Aquarius. I'm just not sure if he was ready for a team like this. I think he could still use some growing time on another team before he gets put on a team of this caliber. But like I said, that collapse is still fresh in my mind, and I see them. If it wasn't for Stealth retiring, Luminosity would be 5th and out of Super Regionals for me. I don't think this team. I think that team. This collapse is still fresh in the minds of a lot of their fans. Is it still in the mind of the players? I don't know, but it's a possibility. So Luminosity is number 4 for me. E United is 3. Mainly, like you said, we don't know what Venenu is going to do. I think if Venenu fills in well and gets better and better and becomes what E United is hoping they can be, then they can move up to the number 2 spot. But for right now, with us not knowing what Venenu is going to be able to do in this role with this team, the rest of the roster is still good enough to finish 3rd for me. If, like I said, if Venenu gets better as the split goes along, they could end up finishing 2nd.
Yeah. You're rating them quite a bit higher than I do. But I can understand your reasoning, right? I think something that's going to make a difference for Luminosity, or at least something that I expect to make a big difference, is sort of the meta that we're moving into right now. Because obviously we're moving towards a meta that is likely to be a bit more hunter focused than the last one we've had. And I think a large part of why Luminosity looked sort of bad in the summer, especially towards the end, was because Barracuda was not showing up as much as other hunters were. And I don't expect that to be the case again going into the split, especially because more emphasis is going to be put on the hunter role now, and Barracuda has never been the type of player who hasn't looked good when there was pressure on him, right? So with that really in mind, I think we can expect more out of Luminosity this split than we did in the last one, and I expect him to still hold on to that third spot that they had in the summer, even if they're bringing in a less experienced solo laner right now. So yeah, they're still my third place team in NA. As far as second place is concerned, obviously we only have 2 rosters left, which are Space Station and Trifecta. My second place is going to be Space Station, just based on LAN performances. Right? We've seen Homie consistently carry this team to LAN and then not showing up on LAN, and they are a different roster now. They have brought in 2 new players that we expect to be fairly good, right? Sadman has the potential, again, in the late game focused Hunter meta, to be a massive carry for this team, one that they've not had in the last split with Vicium. And we have Scary D coming in, who has not looked great in the last split, but is likely still going to be an improvement over FineOK, even though FineOK was improving as the split went on. I think Scary was still, towards the end, a level above him. And I think he's also a level above Aquarius, if you want to compare those two directly as well. So this team, I think they're looking better now because they have more carry potential coming from Zampman than they had. Homie Effie, I think, is still going to be an issue on LAN. But still, even there, they might have a chance to compete against the likes of a Luminosity, right? So they're my second place team.
Yeah, I agree. Space Station, just based on their roster, should be the second best team going into the summer or into the fall split. We've talked about Homie Faye's lack of performances on LAN, but he's still really good online, and that should be good enough for the team to be placed higher than almost most of the rest of North America. Scary D is not as bad. Like, I'm not scratching my head on the Scary D thing as much as other people are. I think Scary D was a good solo laner on Luminosity, but he caught a lot of flack from the community about being the worst player on Luminosity. And all due respect to Scary D, he was the worst player on Luminosity, because just look at the rest of the roster. Jeff and Barrett, they're pretty much Smite essential. You know, they've been in it since the very beginning. They're the oldest duo lane in the league. Baskin has made a name for himself. Mask has made a name for himself. Scary D was kind of the outlier, and so he was the easy one to blame. Don't think his play was as bad as everybody was making it out to be. But that being said, a new place or on a new team where you get a fresh start, I think it only helps Scary D, because you're not worried about, you know, not performing anymore. You're not getting the flack from from Reddit anymore. You get a fresh start, and I think that only helps him. And going into a meta where it is later game, where Scary D was really good at the late game, he was really bad in the laning phase, and that's what kind of hurt Mask so much last split, because he had to help Scary D so much in the early game that the rest of the team suffered. This meta really is focused on the late game, where I think Scary D can excel. Batman, yes, better than Betty. It makes sense to put this team as the number 2 team right now. Going into super regionals, though, they still should be number 2 or number 1, but they're, like I said, Homie Faye on LAN is not something we're all too happy about. So they should make it to super regionals. I don't expect them to make it any further than super regional, but let's hope Homie Faye finds himself at super regionals and hope they make it to worlds, because definitely a team that has the talent to win on the international stage if Homie Faye can show up, which leaves Trifecta as our number 1 team for both of us. And I don't think this is much as a surprise for anybody. I mean, they are only losing their support name I can't think of right now again.
Ionic.
Ionic to retirement. They're not really losing anything else. We know Herwin has been a really good mid laner in North America this season. Tino Shore is North America's version of adapting, if you ask me. He's great on these assassin characters, and really, I think the only difference between Tino Shore and adapting, in my opinion, is the fact that adapting has proven himself longer, and Sino Shore is kind of still up and down, but he can still have that impact that adapting has for energy, right? And so we saw what the teaming of Aurora and Kiki at the Energy Invitational can be like. They were on the team that won the Energy Invitational, and they were the solo and the support. And so we have a clue of what that's going to be like, and it should be a lot of fun to do. And Aurora is not really, he comes to this team from a Team AI, formerly Team Eager, but he likes to play these warrior supports, and Kiki kind of likes to play the Guardian solo. So it's not, you get a little bit of flexibility in both roles because both players are more than comfortable playing the other role or playing the other class. And then Snoopy's just Snoopy. He's one of the best players in the game's history, and he's still pretty damn good. So,
yeah, I think the one thing that you can worry about as far as Trifecta is concerned is just the dual lane synergy, right? Because Snoopy had played with Ionic for a long time, going back into season 1, and then, well, they were separated for a bit, but they are obviously a dual lane who is very attuned to playing with one another, and I think that's sort of what led to a lot of the revitalization of Snoopy. So, looking at the Snoopy Aurora combo, there's still some question marks there, but I think overall both of these players are just on their own so solid and so good. Like, Snoopy has been the best ADC in NA at some point in time, right? And I think he's getting back there now. So overall, this team's just very solid, and apart from those two, they have a lot of synergy, right? Their solo and jungle synergy and every other synergy basically is there, and it has worked. And I have little reason to assume that it's not going to work going into the fall. So yeah, that's why they're my number 1 NA team. Also because everyone else has just much bigger issues to deal with, in my opinion.
They're also the only NA team to have a win against the EU team in the last 6 months. So
yeah. So we are largely in agreement, which is maybe a bit surprising.
Well, when we make predictions for the Super Regionals, I think we'll differ on a couple of them.
Yeah,
we did our power rankings. We'll do Super Regional predictionals at the end of the show.
Yeah.
But now let's get into the Week 1 schedule. What are some of the highlight matches for Europe?
Well, on the EU side, the 2 matches that I'm looking forward to is, first of all, Valence Squad against Energy. Right, we're gonna see this unchanged Valence Squadron, Valence Squad, Valence Squad, basically. Who are going to be facing Energy, which obviously a team that has made a roster change. They've brought in Maniac for the solo lane from Obey. So what we're going to see is whether we have an improvement on VAC, and how exactly Maniac is fitting into this Energy system, and how the team overall is just going to look, right? Because obviously they've been together for a long time prior to making this roster change. So I'm excited to see how the change is going to shake things up.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm going to be watching about in this match. It's the first change that Energy has made in almost 2 full seasons, and so it's pretty significant, right? It's going to be, at least for the first couple of weeks, to see how Maniac fits in with this Energy roster. And it's just going to be something to watch. I think it's what makes this this match particular interesting. We do think Valence Squadron can, if they've improved enough and become more of a sustained, balanced team, right? Like if they can keep winning more and more instead of looking good one week and bad the next, they could be a team that fights for that fourth spot.
Yeah.
But the story for me in this matchup is Maniac in this first roster change Energy has made in 2 years. So that's what reason why I'm going to be watching this one very closely.
What I also think is worth pointing out is that the Valence team, or formerly Enix, they've always had sort of good starts into the split, right? If you just look back at the summer, they had a great start from what I remember, but I might be wrong. I think they did. And
yeah, we had them making it to Super Regionals after the first week.
Yeah, right, exactly. And if you look at that, right, you can just sort of assume that they're going to be coming out in full swing, while Energy is more of a slow starting team, or at least they used to be with Dimi. So I think this matchup in general plays a bit into Valence's hands because of how the two different teams are going into splits. Right, this might be a good chance for them to actually take games off of a team that is overall better than them.
You're much. It's a lot like a hot team to start the split versus a co-team to start the split. Not in a lot of traditional sports, it's not the best team that wins; it's the team that's the hottest. And we know Valence usually starts the splits off really hot and really good, right? It could be that could be a factor of why Valence might win this match.
Yeah, and if they do, it's obviously going to put them in a good position for beating a rival to make it to Super Regionals, right? So yeah. The next match that I think is interesting on the EU side is obviously going to be rival against Dig, because as we mentioned, we think they're the two strongest teams right now. A rival a bit weaker online, most likely, than they are on LAN, so I think Dig should have a bit of an advantage here, but overall it's just going to be great seeing two of the best teams EU has to offer and the world has to offer right now going up against each other.
Don't you just love Jerez? I mean, like, coming into the spring split of the beginning of the season, we had the World Championship rematch in week 1 in Obey versus Energy. Now we're going into the fall, and we have the summer finals rematch in week 1, Rival versus Dig. It's really cool how they set this up, and I think that's a really good way to do it. I mean, it's like having a World Series rematch as the first game of the season in baseball. It's a good way to see where the two best teams from last year are going to stack up in this time around.
What the surprising thing is, we didn't have this in the summer because we had Dig against Obey, who were the finalists of DreamHack Masters in the spring, ending the split, right? Not starting it. So we have basically the opposite now.
Well, I like it this way better. I think it's more interesting. It creates more of a hype, and the SPL actually coming back.
Yeah. See what I would like most. What I would like most is if we had a double round robin, and you had these teams playing each other in the first week and then again in the last week.
Maybe we'll get lucky and they'll have that scheduled for season 5.
Oh, I hope so.
That'd be cool. Of course, if when NA beats an EU team in the World Finals, that can't happen because they won't play each other until the end of the split.
Oh, please. You're still so hopeful. It's almost cute.
I've been called cute before. I'll take it.
Okay. So yeah, now we know NA is not going to be anywhere near as exciting as EU, but what matches do they have to offer, Sabo?
There's two that I'm looking at, just like you in EU. The one I'm looking at first one up is SPL Gatekeepers versus Team Elite. And yes, we both had them 5th and 7th in our power rankings in NA, but it could go a long way of telling us who makes that top 6 and who doesn't make the top 6. Because, like we said, top 6, not guaranteed to get into the league next year, but you get a better shot at making the league next year. And so just finishing better is a better situation for you to be in. And I think these two teams, the Gatekeepers and ALG, Gatekeepers should get better as the split goes along, but for right now, they are still fighting for that 6th spot. And I think going up against a team that can be really good as well in ALG should tell you which direction these two teams are at least going to start the split in.
Yeah, I think there's always matches that are significant from the point that it kind of defines who is going to make a certain rank, right? Just because they're going to have to lead over the other team that they're competing with. And I think this is one of those when it comes to competition about the sixth spot in the SPL, in the NASPL. I think the match we had last split was... Which one was it? The one we thought was going to be very significant.
It was ALG versus E United, wasn't it?
Could have been, yeah.
Turned out it wasn't really that important.
No, I think it was United against Space Station. Not sure. Or ALG against Space Station potentially. Well, point being, I think this could be one of the matches that sort of defines who makes 6th place, just because if someone manages to get 3 points over the other team here, they're gonna build a lead already, and if they have that lead, they can somehow carry them through to 6th place, obviously. So this could be a very defining match, and yeah, we expect a hard fight over it, obviously. That's what I'm most interested about in this, as far as this match is concerned.
Well, probably the most interesting match in A this week, probably second only to Dignitas and Rival in the entire SPL, is E United versus Space Station Tank Gaming. For me, this is number 2 versus number 3. For you, I think it's number 2 versus number 4. But that being said, it should be a great played matchup. Just across the board, I think the teams are evenly matched. Venenu plays well and does well. I think he can match up with Annister quite good, and that this could be a split for E United. But it should be a pretty good set and should tell you like where they're at right now as far as who's better. And everybody knows I've made no attempt to hide it. I am a Benji fanboy, and I think Benji could be the key to E United actually taking a 2-0 in this set if Benji can assert himself over Scary D. If that happens, I don't know if anybody on Space Station Gaming can kind of rein him in other than late game Zapman.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking to forward to the most as far as this matchup is concerned, is to see Sapman back as well, and to see how Scary D is going to perform without having all that pressure that he really had on LG on his shoulders now. Because it could make a difference, right? I'm not sure if it's going to make too much of one, but Benji, a fully unleashed Benji against Scary D could be really interesting to see, as could a fully unleashed Satman against Pandacat. And I just want to see how specifically the new players, specifically Satman, does going into this match, right? Because we've seen what he can do. He has been probably the best NA ADC at some point in time as well or he's always been in contention for it really. So it's really one matchup to look forward to. Obviously, that's why it's in there. That's why it's part of our highlight matches for this week.
It's going to be interesting to see where Panda Cat goes to kind of throw a curveball at Zapman. Does he go to the Souls and the Freyas and the magical ADCs? Does he turn to his Ho-Yi that he's always really been one of his better hunters? Does he bring out the Blink Artemis? Like, it's going to be interesting to see how Panda Cat welcomes that man back into the league. And Panda Cat is pretty good in his own right, and if he can throw a curveball at Zapman that maybe Zapman is not prepared for, that could kind of throw a wrench into what you're hoping to see from Zapman.
Yeah, I just want to see Zapman dominating again, because those were fun times, right?
Well, if you're a fan of Zapman, I guess they were.
No, that's just in general fun times. Like watching a hunter go off like Zapman, that is fun.
I will say one of my favorite memories of Smite included Zapman and 3 members of Luminosity. I think you know which one I'm talking about. The Ho-Yi triple bounce behind Gold Tree last season that killed 3 members. Like, wow.
Yeah, I know. Another favorite of mine is when Zapman just straight up dives Fountain with Apollo ult. Because why not? But that was way further back, right? That was, I think...
That was like season 1.
That was season 1, I think. Let me see if I can find the Twitch clip from the triple bounce.
Alright, while you're looking up that, let's just jump into Super Regional predictions. How we're going to do this is we're going to go 5 through 1, or 1 through 5. We're going to pick the 5 teams that are going to make Super Regionals. The first 4 teams will be the teams in the tournament, and the 5th team will be the wild card team. So, while you're looking up that, I'll get it started. We'll start with the EU. I'll give you a chance to do it, and then we'll go into NA. My top 5 teams, or how I see the online portions of the split ending. I think Valence finishes number 5. I think they win the gauntlet, and I think they make it out of the gauntlet. Rival goes to number 4. Even though I had them at number 2 in my power rankings, Rival should win or should do enough in the online split to put them in 4th and not make them go through the gauntlet. So Rival should be the 4th place team coming into Super Regionals out of EU. I really think they end up winning EU or finishing 2nd in EU at Super Regionals and they make it to Worlds, but for now, just going into Super Regionals, they're number 4. Number 3, I see Obey. I don't think Zelia hurts the team that much, especially in the online portions of the split, where Pretty Prime and Ataraxia should be aces, should be really good. Millsy, we know, one of the smartest players in the league, and Captain Twig, probably the most flexible player in the entire game. In the entire Smite world, he's probably the most flexible player in the game, in our whole universe, our whole Smite universe. Then number 2, got to go with Energy. Energy's, you're adding Maniac for the first time. You're making a significant roster change for the first time in 2 years. The roster is fairly solid and really good. You should finish second. I don't see them having problems with anybody below them. And I think they finished second to Dignitas. So, again, recap, Valence is the wild card team. Dignitas versus Rival in the first set. And then, Elevate or Energy and Obey in that other first round. Because it's 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3. So, yeah. That's my top 5 for Europe coming out of the online split and going into Super Regionals. What about you?
Yeah, honestly, I agree. like, I think the most contested one is going to be Valence or Rival at 4 for 5th, just because of how poor Rival usually looks online. But obviously, they only very closely even made DreamHack Valencia in the summer. They almost lost it, right, to Valence again, or to Enix back then. And if there's some improvement from Enix, or from Valence, and Rival does not look any better, they have a shot at taking 4th place, I think. Because of what we've seen from the lower teams now, like the roster changes happening at Elevate and at Burrito, and just Poppies in general, I don't think being necessarily ready to take 5th place over a team like Rival. I think they're fairly safely gonna make it through into the wildcards, at least through the gauntlet. So I think even if Valence manages to surprise, I don't really doubt that Rival is going to make it to the wildcard at least. But the more likely scenario, I think, is that they just end up taking 4th place. And yeah, Obey behind Energy. From what we've talked about, right, we have them in the same positions in our ranking, behind one another in that order. So I think that makes more than enough sense. And we've really seen out of Dig great online performances as well as great LAN performances. And I don't see any team in the USPL getting close to their level right now, considering that others have made roster changes, that Rival is looking weak online, and that Dig has looked so solid, right? They've looked like they have kept on improving over the entire time they've been together now. So if that improvement hasn't stopped and other teams don't improve significantly faster than them, I see them still taking 1st place. So yeah, I agree with those, honestly. It's not creative, but that's how it is.
No, not creative at all, but I have a feeling that we're going to be creative here in the North America.
So?
5th place is kind of a hard one to get, because I'm looking at 3 teams in Luminosity, the SPL Gatekeepers, and Noble being 5th or 4th, and it's kind of hard to make a decision. But I'm going to go with gut. I'm going to say Luminosity gets off to a slow start, but finishes off well enough that they make it into the 4th spot. 5th spot, I see. I had such high hopes for Noble, but I don't know. I don't know anymore. I think the SPL Gatekeepers make it out of the gauntlet. I think if Man Ray stays around and gets better and improves, the team of just Payne, Devion, and Data, remember, and the rest of the roster should just be good enough to beat out Noble at the end of the gauntlet. Number 3, though. Number 3, I'm gonna stay objective and go with E United. I think Venenu is the question here. Venenu has done enough throughout the split that he has gotten better. The team will finish 3rd. I just don't see E United finishing over Trifecta or Space Station Gaming. It could be, I think they're 3rd, and I think they make it into that Super Regionals as the third team out of NA. Number 2. Finishing the online portion, I'm going to say Trifecta is number 2. Roster is solid. The roster is good. You talked about the synergy between Aurora and Snoopy being an issue, or potentially being the only hiccup this team has. I say it's a problem for the first week. I think after that, they settle in and they play pretty well together. And when they do go up against Space Station Gaming, I think they're at their best. I think Space Station Gaming is a little better online because Homie Faye is a monster online. So I think Space Station wins that head-to-head matchup during the online portion. I think Trifecta finishes number 2, even though I think they're the better team overall. I just think Space Station's probably too good online because Homie Faye's too good online. And then, of course, that leaves Space Station as my number 1 team, finishing the online portions at least. So,
you know, it's gonna sound stupid again, but there's one thing I disagree with. Outside of that, I agree again. Right? I think I had Luminosity and United the other way around in the power rankings as well, so I'm also gonna put them the other way around as far as the placement coming out of the online portion of the split is concerned. Because I just think, all things considered, Barracuda's, as I said, Barracuda's going to make a bigger impact than he did in the summer, and that could put them above the level of a United. Because his ceiling, I just perceive his ceiling as higher than that of Panda Cat, and I think Baskin is way more settled into the mid-roll than Venenu is going to be, and just overall probably has a higher cap as well. And yeah, with that in mind, I've putting them above United for third and fourth place. I agree with Gatekeepers probably taking the wildcard spot, just because even if they come in slow into the splits, as it progresses, this team is going to improve, just based on the fact that they're now, a lot of them are going to be breathing SPL air for the first time, right? The likes of a Graves, the likes of a Mana Warrior as well. And obviously Data Remember is a solid player, Pain the Beyond is the general. And there's a lot of things you can expect from this team. I think improvement overall is going to happen, and I think that improvement is going to get them 5th place. Could even potentially get them the 4th place. Right, if they manage to beat E United in the last week's matchup between the two. Which is going to be a thing. And it's actually an interesting thing, honestly. When you look at the last week matchups that are going to be happening, it's going to be both United playing against Gatekeepers and United playing against Luminosity. So against the two teams that were placing at roughly the same level, right? And yeah, I think those matches could easily make the difference between who gets directly to Super Regionals and who has to go through the gauntlet. And I also agree for your number 1 and 2 spots. I think Trifecta overall, as we said, is the better team than Space Station. But online, with Homie FA looking so much better than he does offline, Space Station should end up taking the first seed here. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about it.
So it's a weird day that we're both in agreement.
Yeah, it sort of is. Well, I still think NA is shit, and you still think they're going to win Worlds, so that's not something we agree on.
Well, they are going to win Worlds. I don't know what you think. Europe is so high and mighty. I think NA is going to. I think NA is going to take all of it.
Oh,
I think it's an all North American finals. I think it's all North American finals.
Oh, please, you don't know us Europeans. We are very humble. I would even say that we are the best at being humble.
Sound like you're humble, making fun of NA all the time.
Yeah, like it's. I'm not saying that we are. Well, we are the best right now, but still, Right, EU only call themselves far superior than NA if they actually are, which they are right now.
We trifecta in United World Finals.
We'll see. It's probably going to be... I think it's more likely that it's going to be Dig Rival again. Just a tiny bit more likely.
We'll see who's right, won't we?
Yeah, that's usually what happens when time
Battle
passes.
line wrong. Now we start the games. Who will win? Who will lose? Who has to kiss each other's butts? We'll find out just split on ESPL. Tune in every week for Tuesday night. Smite.
Yeah. Still haven't found the Sandman clip, by the way. This thing is really hard to find.
I know it's Eager versus Luminosity. I think it was in the spring split last year.
Last year?
Yeah, it's season 3.
Really? Is it that far back?
I believe so.
I can't find it. Like, it's making me sad.
Because I think the situation was Luminosity just took Go Fury, wiped 4 members of Eager, and it was a 4-on-1, and that man hit a triple bounce on the wall between Dolane and the back of Gold Fury. Ended up killing 3 members of Luminosity before the last member of Luminosity got the last hit on him. I'm pretty sure it was a 5 for 4, but it would have ended up being a 5 for 1 if he hadn't hit that triple bounce.
Yeah, I remember it similarly. I just don't remember if it was actually at that point in time. So yeah. We have another clip that I can show. It's not Satman. It's Matt Yankee. So let's just show that instead. Matt Yankee is basically budget Satman right now.
I was a stream hack last year.
Hurrywig came up big to keep his support alive, and
Yeah.
Rafa will get killed by Met Yankee, and now it's Panthera in trouble as Homie Effie, and the boys of Sora coming back for it. Yankee off the bank, he's like a ball player on crack. He's now looking for the kill to Melito, who jukes him out and manages to find the mess.
To be honest,
Still, he's gonna go down.
like, it's not even the play that's good, it's just the commentating.
Yeah, we're losing. We're not completely losing Hindu Man, but we're losing him.
Yeah, it's sad.
He's still going to do it. He's still going to do a couple of the, a few of the games, but he's not going to be doing as much as he used to be.
Yeah, but we're gonna get someone
Yeah,
from the
honestly,
caster, I think.
I couldn't watch yesterday's episode of the caster. I didn't freaking have the internet.
Yeah, it's too bad. It was pretty good. You could probably catch it
It's
on
also-
YouTube at some point.
Also, the first time since I started playing Smite that I wasn't able to log in and get my login rewards.
Wow.
First time in nearly 3 years I wasn't able to log in and get my login rewards.
Iris should refund that.
AT&T should refund, or no, not AT&T. The state of Kentucky should refund me that.
Yeah, they should be buying you gems right now.
Give me $15 so I'm gonna buy 800 gems and you won't hear anything from me.
Yeah. No, but you should watch the caster. Like, it was really good.
I'm gonna give it a watch one of these, probably tomorrow. I haven't played. I haven't done days. I'm gonna play around a little bit.
There's another play I remember of Satman. Like, back in Season 2, I think, when he sort of just came out. He did come out in Season 2, right? I think he did.
There's
The point is...
There's a game that stood out for me last year during, like, Group D of the fall split,
Yeah.
where it was at the end of the grouping, and they were both teams were just messing around because they couldn't change their positions. I think it was Enemy versus Soar. Polar Bear Mike was on commentary, and Ionic was filling in for Snoopy in mid, and actually played Get mid. And Ionic, Polar Bear was like, "Come on, Ionic, through the blink and thunder." Never mind, he's backing because he's a bitch.
Wow.
It was one of the best cash games ever. I was like, "This is the funniest thing." It's one of the funniest things.
Yeah, the one moment I remember was not funny, but it was also awesome, and it was also a triple bounce by Satman. But it was a triple bounce off of an Emir wall. Do you remember that one?
That season 2.
Yeah, I think it was season 2, yeah. I'm not sure when exactly it happened.
Season 2 versus Denial, I think it was.
Might have been, yeah. I'm not sure.
Polar Bear Mike was on Ymir, so it had to be in the fall. Season 2.
It was an awesome play. That's the most important part. It was an awesome play. See, that's why I'm excited that Satman is back. And that's why I'm excited that our local pool player on crack, Matt Yankee, is back as well. Yeah.
I still think Panicat has the best Togi in the game.
I think Pan has
bouncing.
the best Scotty.
Double bouncing that during the not the Espelon Invitational last year, double bouncing off the wall to kill Emilito.
Wait, under tower, right?
That was probably one of the best plays I've ever seen. Is that double bounce off the wall to kill Emilito?
Well, yeah. Poor Emilito. Yeah. There's a lot of good plays. They're just really hard to find somehow. Like, that is honestly surprising to me.
Funny, Hoagie is. Whenever there's a great play, Hoagie's probably usually the hunter that does it.
Yeah, because bounces are just awesome. Like, there's this. That's just the thing.
What do you think of the new god, Hachi Man?
I still don't know how much damage his 2 does. And based on that, he's either going to be good or bad. Overall, I think he seems interesting.
I like the balance on his 1 where he can shoot like double the range, but it stops on the first thing he hit.
Yeah. Like, if it was passing through, it would just be OP as fuck. Honestly.
Yeah. That's probably what makes the talent, the skill balanced and not overpowered. The fact that it can't go through everything.
Yeah.
So his number 1 is pretty cool. His number 3, or not his number 3, but his ultimate. That's pretty cool, if you ask me, because you can use it while you're running away, and it's like you're getting on a horse like you're Guan Yu, but you don't have to turn around and waste an ult to run away. You can run away while using the ult and still hit somebody because you can turn around and face the other direction.
Yeah. He's basically Hunter Foff, now that I think about it. All that range.
To me, he's probably one of the better gods that they've added in the past year. Ganesh is probably the best, and he's probably like top 2 or 3.
Yeah. Like, I'm not sure yet. I want to see him really play, and I want to play him myself. I'm not sure if he's going to be too much fun, honestly, but he could be viable, as I said, depending on how much damage his 2 does, because it's obviously going to be his wave clear, since the 1 doesn't penetrate, right?
Carnonos was broken. Dodgy didn't do enough damage.
Yeah, but I like Dodgy.
The rage mechanic on
Colin.
Kuka Lane.
Do you want to see it? Say it with an Irish accent.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can. I'm terrible at accent, but it's something like Colin.
Colin. I was going to say Kukulin. That's the wrong god. Kuka Lane. Colin. Kukulin. Kukulin. Yeah. That rage mechanic took a while for everybody to figure out, but
yeah, I still haven't.
Like the best gods, I think he's one of the top 3 gods that they've released in the past year. The Morgan was just frustrating. Ganesh, and then what was it at the end of Flash? Was it Nike? Yeah, Nike was really good. But Ganesh, Nike, and then Hachiman are the 3 best gods they've released in the past year, in my opinion.
I really like Dodgy, man.
Just to start with, after Morgan was played a little bit and everybody kind of figured out how to play her, she kind of took off and became one of the best gods in the game.
I already liked Dodgy when she was out, when she was just a new god.
I didn't like Dodgy, I didn't like Ardio.
No, I like Ardio as well. She's just still a bit too strong, But she's fun. She is generally a fun god. So, yeah. Wait, let me look for what was released this year. Yeah, you had RTO, you had Kukulin, you had Dodgy, you had Ganesh, you had Cernos, you had Kuzenbo, man. Kuzenbo. That is a good god.
I forgot about Kuzenbo. Kuzenbo was crap for the first 2 months, okay?
Kuzenbo is still crap.
He's a little bit more playable now, but he was crap the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, but he's still fun, right? I really think just fucking running around as that dude and pushing people is just so much fun.
Really fun in the new adventure mode,
yeah.
I'll play him on the Conquest map every now and then as a sport, and it's hit or miss. You're either you hit his dash, or you hit his push, and everything goes right, or you miss his push and you're fucked because you're out of position.
Yeah. Well, you still have his 4. I think he's pretty hard to kill, right, with his 4, because and with his passive as well.
With his 2 reflecting damage that you can pop, if you have enough cooldown, you can pop it every 6 seconds.
Yeah. But he's just not good because he has no initiation, right? His pull is terrible for initiation, and he does not provide enough benefits to just not have any initiation at all, right? What other support gods really lack initiation? Capri and Hell now. And with Hell, you get heals. You get speed buffs for your entire team.
We're going to see a lot more Hell in the mid lane now, I think.
Yeah. And with Capri, you've always had this lack of initiation made up for by the fact that his ult is just stupidly strong if it's used well, right? With Kuzenbo, there's nothing to really make up for his lack of initiation.
I still say that if you use Capri ult at the right time, that it's one of the most useful ults in the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Outside of maybe Fear No Evil and Humbats. You got to time it right though. Humbats, if you jump in and get 3 or 4 members with a Fear No Evil, that's a great ult. If you blow a Capri ult at the wrong time and the team ends up waiting it out, then you just wasted your Capri ult. I also don't like when supports use the Capri ult on themselves. You're dead in that situation one way or the other. Save it. Let the respawn timers are only 15 to 20 seconds at the time, most of the times when the supports are using it. They cool down on that almost 90 seconds. Just save it.
Yeah.
It pisses me off when I see somebody in the SPL, like a Wowie or, not a Wowie, but a woman or a Raffer or somebody use a Kepriel on themselves when they're surrounded by 5 players, you're already dead in the situation. Save the ult.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, but yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen. Yeah, I think that's Kuzenbo's biggest issue. Like honestly, is a lack of initiation. Outside of that, when the team fight's already started, he is decent, right? The Nene Kappa does a surprising amount of damage if you can't focus it immediately. And the ult is actually really good. And the reflect damage basically makes him unkillable as well. So
I think the Nene Kappa got better when they added a portion of his protections to the Nene Kappa.
yeah,
Before then,
also,
it was really just like a hunter could take it down in 2 shots. Now it takes them a while, and he really becomes like a 7th minion in that wave.
yeah, I think it became a lot better when they added the slow. And the reason why I like it most is just because you can, if you're a good Kuzenbo, right? I know a guy who's a really good Kuzenbo. He basically mains to God for some reason. He consistently gets like those triple bounces, and if you can consistently get those, you can consistently target them to the squishies in the backline and slow them, right? And that's a pretty useful thing. So yeah,
I
like
like
Kuzenbo.
I like Tarot as well, but if we're talking about just cards that came out in the last year, like
Yeah.
Ganesh is probably number 1. Nike is probably number 2.
Well, my
But
favorite gods this year have been Dashi and Artio. Artio because her kit is actually really fun, and Dashi's kit is fun as well.
I don't really like either of the 2, but the personal opinions aside, like,
Yeah.
a reason why I like Ganesh, and they did add the counter to his passive to show how many kills you're giving away. But the reason I like Ganesh is I don't have to wait to kill somebody now. Like, as when I was playing support as a support main, if I wanted my carries to get fed and have kills, like I would have to kind of wait until they got the last shot. Well, Ganesh, you don't have to do that. You can just be as aggressive as you need to be to get the kill, and it still gives it to your carry. So I was like, yeah.
Yeah. It's a really useful passive. Yeah, I think that's about it. Do you have anything to add before we close out the show? Any shout-outs you want to give?
No, not this week. I mean, I think we're good. I don't know.
Yeah, because there's really nothing left to talk about. So yeah. In that case, this was it from the Tuesday Smite.
One shout out that I remember. Freight Train, the former podcaster that worked with the Zach Dickerson. I think they're still doing the podcast, but he is now the newest member of the High Res casting team. So shout out to him. Congratulations to him. Looking forward to his commentary.
When was that announced?
Like 2 weeks ago.
It's interesting.
It was right after Hindu Man had announced that he was getting a better position and that he wasn't going to be casting as much games.
Okay. Yeah, well, I haven't heard about this, honestly. But yeah, in that case, shoutouts to him, obviously.
He can't be any worse than Anatoly. So there's.
You still don't like Anatoly.
I hate Anatoly's casting. Like, I don't hate him as a person. I hate his casting. Kitties and scratchies. I'm like, shut up, or I'm gonna kick you in the nuts the next time I see you.
Oh, I like that though. I like giving abilities stupid names when they have serious names and they're supposed to be serious, but they're actually really silly when you think about it. But yeah. Before we...
And he points out the most obvious freaking things on the cast. Like we all just watched that happen. You don't have to tell us everything.
What I don't like is when he acts like he doesn't know the exact number, but he does, and he says 25 or percent or something, 25% or so, right? Because he obviously knows the exact number.
He kind of goes on like he goes on this rant like, yeah, I think it might be maybe it's just like 25%. I'm not for sure. I'll have to check later, but I'm pretty sure that it scales up to 25%. I'm like, you shut up.
Yeah, before we make ourselves any more enemies, let's end the show, please. We're already 2 days late, Sabo. We gotta get this out now. So yeah, I think that was it from the Tuesday Night Smite podcast for this week. If you did like this episode, leave us a like on whatever platform you were enjoying it on. And if you want to be notified when new episodes come out, you can always subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, etc. You can follow us on Twitter as well if you want to be notified about any news that we have during the week. Like this week we announced that the episode would be late, for example. And we're obviously going to do predictions again once the games start on this Saturday. And yeah, go do that as well. Check out the SPL this Saturday. If you were listening to this podcast, you were probably intending to go do that anyway, but definitely do so. I think it starts at 7 p.m. For Europeans and at 1 p.m. East Coast in NA.
I don't know what time it starts this time. It was used to be noon East Coast time. So
yeah,
12 o'clock.
It used to be 6 in EU, but now it is 7.
So maybe they did push it back to 1. Okay.
Yeah, I think they did. In any case, go check that out as well. And yeah, thanks for joining us this week for this episode, this delayed one. And thank you, Sabo, for doing this episode with me, as you generally tend to do when your internet is working. And yeah, with that said, good night, good Smite.